Fuel and power shortage in the capital city due to blockade to fuel depot. Westpac Bank shuts early due to power outages. And Hanuabada village still tense following last week's killings.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
A very good evening to you and welcome. This is Tuesday's news. Thanks again for joining us. Port Moresby City is likely to face a fuel and power supply crisis. PNG Power Chief Executive Officer John Tungit, in an exclusive interview, told EMTV News that as of midday, 60% of electricity provided by 2 power station generators were switched off. The reason is that PNG Power has no fuel to operate the Kanudi and Moitaka power stations. The nation's capital and surrounding communities may face a possible fuel and electricity crisis if the roadblock at Hanuabada village is not cleared by this afternoon.
The nation's capital may face a possible fuel and electricity crisis by tomorrow. Fuel transportation into the city from the Puma Energy refinery at Napa Napa is hindered by the roadblock at Hanuabada village just outside Port Moresby. The roadblock was put up 5 days ago by angry relatives of 2 Hanuabada men who were shot and killed during a police raid last Friday. Today, the situation has affected the transport system as fuel stations are running out of fuel and closing the services to the public.
Don't block the road, don't get a fuel, petrol, diesel, don't get MMP.
It has affected businesses and bus services. Waigani Service Station Supervisor Junior Kambu said the government has to intervene and solve this problem immediately.
Main supply we all pass him. So then now I'm aste bakam long now I'm long so I'm down the mission plan.
Supply line or make him plenty of line long. City and now people are carrying no diesel now, petrol finish. So I think look also by government now only make him now line long and better now only make him long any alarm something stop long and police now.
Fortunately, at lunchtime, a fuel tanker with the aid of a police escort managed to bring in fuel for this service station, bringing much relief to the drivers. But at other service stations, vehicles are queuing up for the remaining fuel before it runs out. PNG Power is facing a similar situation. The Kanudi and Moitaka power stations were shut down because of no fuel. PNG Power CEO John Tungit says they now supply only 40% of electricity and the situation may go worse if the road is not open.
But basically, yes, we are out of fuel now and we are also limited in terms of our ability to maneuver into the strategic asset in Kanudi. The independent power producer Kanudi Anjung is also under threat. As of 12 p.m. today, they have withdrawn labor because the labor needs support and to keep operating by way of ration and food. The expected staff at the installation also have been threatened. As a result, they've withdrawn labor and we're shutting down the power plant now as we speak. So all in all, Port Moresby is suffering, will be suffering, and it will be a loss of about 60% of the total generation or demand load that we need to serve, which is well into, say, 60% of the total capacity we provide. So all in all, we only have 40% and we can only supply certain essential services in the city.
The PNG Power generators operate on a 100,000 liters per day, consuming 6,000 and 3,000 liters an hour, respectively, for 2 different models.
But now Moitaka is completely shut down. Our Kanudi plant is off. And if Andung goes, then that's it. We're down to 30 to 40%. It's applied only via hydro.
The Port Moresby power supply system has a maximum load of 107 megawatts, but right now PNG Power can supply only 56 megawatts. The 56 megawatts, including 20 megawatts from Kanudi Anjung Power Station, currently supplying electricity to the city, is also expected to shut down if access to fuel depots continue to be blocked off. Currently, the situation at Anwar Bada is still tense. PNG Power has already started load shedding in different areas around the city and advises residents that load shedding will continue until the fuel supplies are replenished. Quintan Alomp, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, business houses were also affected by the shortage of fuel supply in Port Moresby. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, the Westpac Bank in Waigani closed its doors after having to deal with continuous power outages today.
Westpac Bank was amongst a number of business houses that closed business early. At 2 p.m. today, customers who turned up to do banking transactions were asked to leave the building. The continued power outage affected almost the company's entire operation, and employees were also sent home. The bank was experiencing load shedding since yesterday, and employees say the backup generator was not able to start. But PNG Power says such outages are expected to continue, and more business houses will be closing early because of the shortage of fuel in Port Moresby, and load shedding is expected to continue. This was the scene at the Westpac Bank this afternoon. Just a few cars in the car park with only security guards looking after the premises. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
And in news just in, the Hanobada mandated committee say the roadblock into the village will not be removed until all their demands are met by the government. They say they have no confidence in police despite the constabulary having good high-ranking officers. The three lawyers are now compiling their evidence, and their own investigation team has already been set up to do investigations into the two killings. They said the figure reported in the newspaper today is not their final demand, as they are still calculating a cemented figure valuing over 200 million kina. The committee will only be managing the situation, and they want justice to prevail. Youths at Hanobada village are still manning the roadblocks leading into the village. This is despite calls by Motu Koitabu chairman Miria Ikupu to remove all the roadblocks. They say the roadblocks will continue until all their demands are met.
The scene at Hanobada village today is no different to the days since the shooting deaths of the two village men. Since the incident, youths continue to be on alert, manning roadblocks and checking all vehicles that pass through the village. They feel their safety is still not guaranteed and will do everything to protect their people and the village. They have expressed mixed reactions to calls by Motu Koitabu chairman Miria Ikupu to remove the blockades. The roadblocks to the village will continue until all their demands are settled. Police have already commenced investigations into the incident. The Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, Chief Secretary Manasupe Zureno and several politicians have all condemned the actions of the police. The planned protest march for today has been postponed to a later date, most probably on Thursday. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
On the same note, Chairman of the Motu Koita Assembly, Miria Ikupu, has come out publicly for the first time since the tragic Hanobada shooting incident last Friday. In a statement, he said an assembly meeting was convened today, which saw several resolutions passed. Among the resolutions, the Motu Koita Assembly endorsed the demand for 10 million kina each for the 2 lives lost and compensation for those injured. There will not be any protest march tomorrow. However, a petition will be formalized with the support from the Assembly and presented to the relevant state authorities. Mr. Ukupu has ordered the removal of roadblock along the bypass, road freeing services and access for business normal operations. The Boy Market, however, will remain closed. Yesterday, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said government will look at policy considerations relating to the Boy ban. You're watching National EMTV News tonight. Pacific Island Forum's first female leader and PNG's Meg Taylor is the key speaker at the PNG Women's Forum. That story and more coming up after the break. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. The Pacific Islands Forum's first female Secretary General, Dame Meg Taylor, will be a key speaker at the 2015 PNG Women's Forum. Beginning on March 9th and co-hosted by the US Embassy and the PNG government, this year's forum will focus on advancing gender justice and economic opportunities for women. Dame Meg has over 20 years of experience working in the region and internationally, including serving as Vice President and Compliance Advisor Ombudsman with the World Bank Group and as Papua New Guinea's Ambassador to the United States, Mexico and Canada. The forum will draw participants and speakers from PNG and the world, including one of the highest-ranking officers in the U.S. Coast Guard. Jiwaka Province is growing rapidly in the small to medium enterprises ahead of basic government services. But although the province is in its infant stages, groundwork on infrastructure development is visible. This has also enabled women in Jiwaka to do their business. Under the banner of Jiwaka Indigenous Business Council, women leaders are pushing the province to invest in the SME sector. They recently invited Lay MP Lojaya Koza to speak to the women. EMTV's Tara Alex with this report.
Jiwaka is located in a fertile valley slotted in between Western Highlands and Simbu. The name Jiwaka comes from the first two letters of Jimi, Wagi and Kambia. Jiwaka officially became a province on 17 May 2012. The landmarks of the colonial era are visible in Minsk, the district capital of Anglip South Wagi. Many described it as a ghost town because the locals have moved to be near the Highlands Highway. Stores are empty, the town is deserted.
No people around to buy things from the shops, existing shops and all this, so most of the shops they close up.
But all is not lost. The reason behind the recent activities, it is the customer base along the Highlands Highway. She met with Jiwaka Governor Dr. William Tongap and the women leaders. Kuza was openly invited into the community and was given the first-class treatment in Jiwaka style. She was in the province as a keynote speaker for a two-day seminar on the theme Change in Mindset, spearheaded by Jiwaka Indigenous Business Council.
You salim begini man you come dailo diwai cross lo you me arapla man meri lo arapla haplo ground na. Mi plan lotu lo you inside of Papua New Guinea. Kangen lotu wini size blo mi plan a tintin blo mi plan a belief system blo mi plan karimul kangen lotu na still cross fight stab yet. No kan 100% senis.
Health sector blo yumi at plan work lo workim. DPI transport infrastructure, all got big work working. Now you may all got Jiwaka today and me by stress him again. You missed a 4-10 Christmas backside Lord Narula province.
The seminar involved a week-long combined fellowship. Women were the keen participants and single-handedly pointed out the importance of integrating business with church activities in the province.
Mipla Jiwaka, it looks how I identify all agriculture programs. Mipla look coffee inside lo province lo mipla. Work agriculture, work diliman inside lo province lo mipla.
You don't need to worry. You don't need to fret to make him Indigenous Business Council. You don't need to broken boss. You don't need to worry to broken boss. Now make him something out of nothing. You have a promise that God is with you. He is with the leaders of the day.
Invitation was extended to business arms of the government, Internal Revenue Commission, Investment Promotion Authority to help boost the SME sector. Dr. Tongap gave his assurance to set up an office spaces for the departments in Koromul, the provincial headquarters. More than 200 hectares of land has been cleared, giving way for the provincial headquarters to be built. The seminar ended with a covenant made in prayer.
Jiwaka mibla come up with some sin man on behalf of the nation of Papua New Guinea. Na mibla talk sorry.
In me all my life take over.
Tere Alex, National EMTV News.
A non-government organization of Enga Province has received help from the government of Japan for the reconstruction of 2 bridges in Wapenamanda. Warenge Komba Foundation was selected for its priorities and focus on social economic development.
Warenge Komba Foundation, a non-government organization that operates as Enga Province mouthpiece, focusing on social economic development, has benefited from Japan's grant assistance for grassroots human security projects. These funds will assist with the reconstruction of 2 bridges, Timin and Wakium in Wapenamanda district. Japan's ambassador to PNG, Morio Matsumoto, and Warenge Komba Foundation chairman, Matthew Tasso, signed a grant contract witnessed by Wapenamanda MP and Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Rimbing Pato. Ambassador Matsumoto said the reconstruction of the Timin and Wakium bridges will improve transportation networks and enhance economic development.
It would also make traveling and transportation very easy and accessible for the whole community who will use this bridge.
It is our first time as being a small Papua New Guinean NGO organization to participate in this bridge project. We are very excited to see the project being delivered.
Japan will remain PNG's best friend, developing infrastructure in the country. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The European Union and the University of Technology have collaborated to enhance access to quality higher education and promote research. Vice-Chancellor Dr. Albert Schramm and Chris Alu, Director of the Unitec Port Moresby office, met recently with EU Ambassador Martin Dim to review past and current cooperation and explore future partnership opportunities. Ambassador Dim said higher education is important for long-term sustainable development, while Unitec is eager to explore new areas of cooperation. It's hoped that undergraduate students will benefit from an EU scheme. They are also looking into agricultural research, where Unitec has developed rural development programs funded by the European Union. Papua New Guinea's coffee exports have dropped over the years because of unstable coffee prices. It comes after local producers, mostly small-scale coffee farmers, continue to receive less from their sale of coffee. The Simbu-based Congo coffee factory owner, Jerry Kapka, said government policies are not aligned with the interest of small-scale farmers.
Just a few kilometers outside of Kundiawa town is the Congo coffee factory. It processes and exports several tons of coffee bags and over 10,000 cartons of roasted coffee every year. Much of their coffee ends up in Japan and other European countries. The largest contributors of coffee beans to this facility are small older village growers. While the market looks good, the factory owner, Jerry Kapka, is concerned about the recognition given to coffee farmers by the government.
And prices have come down so low. And, we really need government support here. The government has to come in and provide price support. I am very well aware there was a gathering in Goroka where the Prime Minister came. I was there at that time, and there was over 50 million kina committed, given for price support. And, from that time up to now, I've not seen any price support. Wasted money.
Over the years, the production has declined. The slump in coffee export over the years is largely due to unstable coffee prices that coffee growers have limited influence over. The coffee industry is slowly picking up, but not as much as it was 40 years ago. PNG's coffee market leans towards the buyer, putting it at an advantage over the seller. The PNG Coffee Regulatory Body, CIC, after realizing the decline in the coffee market, began issuing coffee licenses to ease the pressure between the buyers and the sellers. Now, this gives an opportunity to small coffee growers to avoid the middlemen who, for the most part, buy coffee at a cheaper price.
As locals, we have been having licenses for many years. But why are we not becoming successful exporters? This is the question that we have to ask, and we have to find the solutions.
All eyes are now on the government to come up with policies and measures that support the interest of small coffee farmers, policies that align with coffee volumes, quality control and stability in coffee prices. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News.
Enga Provincial Government stands ready to implement 3 priority impact projects. These are mainly in the education and health sectors. Enga Governor Peter Ipatas made these remarks when announcing the provincial budget this afternoon.
Governor Ipatas announced over 312 million kina in the provincial budget, a budget that has been reduced by 10 million kina from last year. However, the provincial government is adamant to deliver the 3 specific projects.
The Enga Provincial Hospital as one of the number 1 project that we want to deliver in this term of Parliament. We also wanted to deliver the Enga Technical College, or the Ella Open Air Technical College, and of course the ongoing Enga Teachers College.
In addition to the budget, the provincial government will receive 25 million kina as PSIP funds. Enga province, through Governor Ipatas, has championed the education policy over the years. With the government's support to continue the free education policy, the province will divert its attention to improving the health sector.
We're trying to build the provincial hospital, but we are also going down to establishing district hospitals. So we have now finally almost completed Chopas as the Wabeg District Hospital.
Other impact projects include the upgrading of the 7 million Kina Wabeg Road, completion of Sopas Hospital that will become the new Wabeg Hospital, and improvement of Kompiam Hospital with funding assistance of 500,000 Kina. The provincial government will provide detailed information on its priorities and money plan in the upcoming Leaders Summit next Thursday. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
And now we check out the finance news. The Kina closed 10 points lower at $0.3825 in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.375 $0.4699 Australian dollars, $0.3305 euro, and 43.99 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa, and copper all closed the day lower. Meanwhile, copper closed higher, while palm oil and crude oil closed lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 6 points higher, the ASX closed at 46 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 43 points higher. And National EMTV News continues after these short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. We now take a look at news making headlines overseas. At least 30 people, including 2 children, have been killed in shelling in southeastern Ukraine. Hundreds more were injured as the latest violence threatens a shaky month-long ceasefire.
The processions will keep coming to the edge of this hard-scrabbled town. 30 of them. First to be buried is Olga Aburashitova. She once appealed on social media to Putin to help this windswept port city. But Ukrainian officials say Russia sent Grad missiles instead, which slammed into the civilian suburbs of this town Saturday. As this war ebbs and flares wildly, loss mounts. But now, there's not even a ceasefire here in name, both sides seeking vengeance. She curses Putin and asks he die like a dog, adding, he brings tragedy to Ukraine that brings tears to mothers. In this nearby hospital, separate to these, the blast's other child victims, is Olga's 3-year-old daughter, Milana. She survived, is in intensive care, very awake and coming to terms, relatives say, with the loss of her left leg.
What she saw, the explosion, the death of her mother, and her screaming for help. She remembered everything.
A car's dashboard camera caught some of the blasts. Along with cleaning up now comes the task in Mariupol of working out who were behind these civilian deaths, and who you blame in this war often depends on the side that you're on. But monitors from the OSCE have been here to investigate, and their first conclusions suggest the rockets were fired from the north and from the east, both from directions of areas held by the separatists. Sleepy streets now pockmarked by the rockets. Plastic sheeting running out to replace windows. This home, in its basement, bearing witness to how powerful the rockets were. They went straight through the floors into their car. The firepower used in this war, like the rhetoric and the death toll of over 5,000, escalating daily.
The newly elected Prime Minister of Greece has vowed to make good on his election promise to renegotiate the terms for the country's austerity measures. Greece's economy was saved by bailouts from the European Union and IMF after its economy collapsed in the global financial crisis from 2007.
Across Europe, countries with struggling economies have been force-fed a bitter medicine of austerity. Public sector jobs axed taxed, welfare cut, and state services shrunk. The price paid for an international bailout. For Greece, this tough treatment has not been working. In 2009, at the height of the crisis, public debt as percentage of GDP was 127%. The latest figures show it's risen to 176%. And now Greece looks set to become the first rebellious patient of the German-led rescue plan. Syriza, one of a new breed of left-wing anti-austerity parties, has offered what it says is an alternative, more palatable prescription. One that, instead of promising more spending cuts, will seek to write off Greece's debt.
Our victory is also a victory for all the people of Europe who are fighting against austerity that is destroying our common European future.
It's an alternative remedy that is gaining momentum elsewhere on the continent, most significantly in Spain, where the anti-austerity Podemos party is now polling at nearly 30%, just 1 year after it was founded, and less than 12 months away from a general election. The Podemos leader was in Athens last week, standing side by side with Alexis Tsipras. And today, he hailed the Syriza win.
Political force of change has won the elections in Greece. Now we are going to support the government of change in Greece, but we have to do our own duty in Spain.
In Ireland, the socialist Sinn Féin party has been boosted by anger over public sector cuts, the result of belt-tightening policies imposed by the EU and IMF as terms of its bailout. Italy, too, has seen a wave of protests against austerity and a rise of Beppe Grillo's anti-Europe party. And there's a similar movement in Portugal. These countries will be looking to Greece to see if a rejection of the traditional methods of recovery can offer a lasting cure and an alternative to the pain of austerity.
A prominent prosecutor in Argentina who became a controversial figure when he accused Argentina's president of covering up Iran's involvement in a 1994 bombing has died. Albert Nisman has been investigating the Jewish Community Center bombing more than 20 years ago and was due to testify when he was found dead in his apartment.
A wall crashes down as rescuers scramble to find survivors after a car bomb ripped through the Buenos Aires Jewish Center. 85 people were killed, hundreds wounded. Roberto Yabra was in his bakery a block and a half away. How could I not remember, he says. I was right here. The blast blew through and tore off my roof. Argentina's worst ever terrorist attack hit the large Jewish community hard. Now, the death of the man struggling to bring the perpetrators to justice has sharpened the pain. This is another bomb, he says. The death of the prosecutor is another bomb for us. They keep throwing bombs at us. No one was ever convicted for the bombing. The new Jewish Center was built on the exact same spot, with the names of the 85 victims written across the front as constant reminders. Ariel Cohen shows us some of the few remnants of the original building. It's all that's left, he says. Now he's worried the investigation will die with Nisman. Nisman took over the sputtering investigation a decade ago. He has long accused Iran of planning and financing the attack and said that Hezbollah had carried it out. Iran has denied it. About 2 weeks ago, he accused the president and her foreign minister of trying to cover up for Iran. His sudden death, a new blow to Argentina and the Jewish community. We're Argentines, children of Argentines, he says. All of Argentina is afraid right now. Thousands of people protested in front of the Jewish Center last week, demanding a thorough investigation. Sofia Guterman lost her only daughter in the blast. It was a search that lasted 7 days and 7 nights, she says, and then the morgue called us. She says now they must fight to get justice for the man who is fighting for her daughter.
And that's a take on our news segment tonight, but stay tuned. We've got True Crime Sports coming up next, and I'll give you all the details after the break. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome to True Kai Sports. Well, the SP-PNG Hunters players will be eligible for selection into the National Nines 15-man squad to compete at the 2015 Pacific Games in July. Brad Tassel, Chief Executive Officer for the Hunters Club, said the National Nines team is looking at selecting the best possible squad to represent the country. With the recent success from the Commonwealth Games, the team is hoping to win gold on home soil.
With the 2015 Pacific Games around the corner, the SP-PNG Hunters players are eligible to represent PNG come July. Chief Executive Officer for the SP-PNG Hunters, Brad Tassel, said we'll be selecting our best possible squad to represent the country in Rugby Nines. These players must be fast, skillful, and be able to play a much faster format of Rugby League.
Gets it, Gary Lowe's away. He steps around Ogden. Gary Lowe! What about that? How good is this entertainment?
Players selected to be a part of the PNG Nines team will be released from the respective clubs to participate, having scheduled a bye weekend for the Hunters at the time of the Pacific Games. Selections apart from Hunters see prospects of some local players who have already been identified from a pool of about 70 players throughout the country and players from the team competing in the Cabramatta Nines. Most players selected to participate at the Cabramatta Nines this weekend is dominated by players who are part of the Commonwealth Gold-winning team. PNG Rugby Nines 15-man squad will be named next month and will present the final list of players to the Pacific Games Committee by February 27. PNG RFL chairman said PNG is expected to win and has put the responsibility to raise the bar at the Games. Dion Kombe, National EMTV Sports.
On the contrary, the Coca-Cola Epatas Cup board are not happy with the PNG Rugby Football League board's decision to run the Rugby League Nines competition for the South Pacific Games. In a letter addressed to the PNG RFL board, the Epatas Cup board says it will cause inconvenience to the 2015 Epatas Cup competition. PNG RFL chairman Sandy Saka has confirmed, citing the letter, but he won't make any response.
8 teams. The Coca-Cola Epatas Cup board has expressed disappointment at the decision by the Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League board to run the Rugby League Nines competition within the period of the Epatas Cup. In a letter to the chairman, Sandy Saka, the board stated that the decision to run the competition demonstrates ignorance and disrespect to one of PNG's major rugby league competition. The PNG Rugby League Nines competition will be used to select players who will participate in the upcoming South Pacific Games in Port Moresby. During the announcement last week, Mr. Saka says players will be selected from the DGCL Cup, including the PNG Hunters.
We won the Commonwealth Games 9, so we have a pool of talent. We are actually sort of the defending premier. We expected to win gold. That puts an additional burden or responsibility on us to raise our bars.
The Epatas Cup board described the Nines competition as a one-off competition, and Epatas Cup has been responsible for the identification, exposure and development of local raw talents in Papua New Guinea. They have also demanded Mr. Saka and his board to reconsider the decision and apologize to the patron, the Epatas Cup board and stakeholders and sponsors for the inconvenience caused. Meanwhile, PNG RFL chairman Sandy Saka told EMTV Sports that he has cited the letter but says he won't respond to it. The PNG Rugby League Nines will kick off next month with the finals to be played in March. Sylvester Gawi, National EMTV Sports, Lae.
With the aim of uniting the people of the autonomous region of Bougainville, the Jomic Cup ended on a high note over the weekend. 700 sports enthusiasts flocked to the Hutsena Oval in Buka to compete in a week of soccer and volleyball tournaments. The tournament attracted 32 teams in soccer and 20 teams to compete in 7 days of competition. Laura United, in a tough encounter, edged out Destiny 3 points to 2 in the soccer finals. On its third year of staging, Jomic Group of Companies committed 21,000 kina for this year's tournament. An estimated 12,000 crowd flocked to the Oval to witness the event. In their advocacy to promote peace and harmony in the province, sports is used as an avenue to instill positive attitude among the youth of the autonomous region of Bougainville. You're with National EMTV News. True Kai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome back to True Kai Sports. Turning overseas now, the Socceroos can take another step to winning their first major international trophy when they play the United Arab Emirates in the semi-finals of the Asian Cup tonight. Here's a preview.
And one of the main reasons for that, Ken, is because of the huge home crowd support that they'll be receiving here this evening. 22,000 people will cram into Hunter Stadium, and let's face it, the Socceroos are in great form. In fact, no other side in this tournament has scored more goals than the Socceroos have. Now, the side got out for a light stroll today. They had few opportunities to do so because, like in Sydney, a deluge of rain has smashed this area in the last 24 hours, and that will affect the match. The pitch will be heavy. Let's hope that it doesn't dampen the Aussies' attacking prowess. Now, in terms of history, these two sides have played on two separate occasions. On both occasions, it was 0-0. So could this go to a penalty shootout tonight? They will play, the winner that is, South Korea in the final on Saturday night at the Olympic Stadium, Ken.
Over to cricket, and Michael Clarke's grip on the Australian captaincy could be slipping. Teammates have praised his replacement, Steve Smith.
He's the fresh face of Australian cricket, and Steve Smith wants to keep it that way.
All right, ready to go.
The stand-in skipper ensuring he'll look his best for the Allan Border medal tonight, which he's favourite to take out.
I think I'm probably up there somewhere, there or thereabouts. I think David Warner and Mitchell Johnson have also had terrific years.
Smith has stamped his authority on world cricket over the past 12 months, and despite enjoying much of that success as captain, he's rejected calls for him to remain leader when Michael Clarke returns from injury.
As far as I'm concerned, when Michael's fit to play again, it's his team to take back over.
Clarke has stayed close to the national team throughout his recovery, but has let Smith run his own show.
For me, when I took over in his absence while he was away, it was about doing it my way and trying to get the best out of the team that way.
And his teammates appear more than happy for him to keep the job, Shane Watson glowing in his praise of Smith's captaincy.
He reads the game incredibly well for a young man. It's like, he's been born with this cricket intuition as well. So, in situations, he just knows where to go to, whether it's with the bat, but also as a leader in the fields.
Watson should return from his hamstring injury in Sunday's one-day final. He's got extra motivation for the World Cup, announcing he'll donate money to motor neurone disease research for each of his boundaries and wickets.
To tennis, and the upsets continue at the Australian Open. Rafael Nadal rolled in the quarter-finals. In the women's, it was a tough encounter between women's number 2 Maria Sharapova and Canada's rising star.
Rafael Nadal has had the wood over Thomas Berdych for the past 10 years, but with the Czech's new fiancée Esther watching on, it was time to snap a 17-match hoodoo. The 7th seed stunned Nadal early, breaking him twice to take the first set 6-2.
Well, that was great point to finish him off.
Rarely has the Spanish bull looked so helpless, and Berdych was cashing in. 6-love the second, leaving everyone lost for words.
I feel like I'm watching a train go off the rails right now, and there's no one stopping it.
A clutch at the hamstring, perhaps a sign Nadal's body was letting him down, but Uncle Tony wasn't as concerned as Nadal finally gained momentum. He unleashed that familiar power to force the third to a tiebreak, but it didn't scare Berdych, who wasn't about to let a rare opportunity slip.
I was expecting a very tough battle, but as I said before, I was ready for everything, and I think that was the biggest difference from the last matches.
Was not my day. I didn't play with the right intensity, with the right rhythm, and the opponent played better than me.
Earlier, the cameras were at the ready for the glamour matchup between Eugenie Bouchard and her idol Maria Sharapova, and while the rising Canadian star had her fair share of highlights,
wow, how do you absorb that with an open stance?
She was no match for the world number 2.
Brilliant stuff from Sharapova.
Sharapova making a bold statement in her search for a second title at Melbourne Park.
Sharapova's through.
Well, I had to have a really good performance against Jeannie. She's been playing so well at slams and so confident and so aggressive, and I just try to take that away a little bit from her. That's really the only chance I had, and I did a great job of that today.
And that report wraps up our news segment tonight, but don't go away. We'll have all the weather details after these short messages.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather information is brought to you by Tablebirds.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, Port Moresby, Karama and Popondetta to expect a shower or two and few showers in Daro and Alotau. In Momasa region, mostly fine expected in Lae, Vanimore and Wewak, showers in the day. In the New Guinea Islands, showers as well for Lorengau, Kavieng and Kimbe, showers and rain in Rabaul, rain and thunderstorms expected in Buka. And in the Highlands region, all centres, evening brief showers, then morning fog. Forecast for small ships, there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Papua New Guinea, except for Wewak to Aitape, Vanimore to the northern PNG Indonesian border and Manus. Also, please be aware that wind gusts can be a further 40% stronger than the average given here, and maximum waves may be up to twice the height. Looking at waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daro to Kiwai Island, Karama Yule Island through to Hood Point, Samarai Island, Finchafin including Vitia Strait, Siasi Islands, Long Island through to Madang, Bogia, West New Britain, Eastern and Western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 2.5 metres to 3 metres, waters of Samarai Island through to Cape Vogel, Wasu Point, Finchafin, New Island, East New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 1.5 metres to 2.5 metres, and lastly waters of Bogia through to Wewak, Aitape, Vanimore and the northern PNG Indonesian border through to Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 0.5 metres to 1.5 metres. And ocean forecast for PNG areas, coral seas, seas rough with northwest winds at 20 to 34 knots. And for Solomon Sea, Bismarck Sea and Pacific Ocean, seas moderate to patches of rough with northwest winds at 15 to 25 knots. Recapping our main headlines again tonight before we go. Fuel and power shortage in the capital city due to blockade to fuel depot. Also, Westpac Bank shuts early due to power outages, and Hanoabada village still tense following last week's killings. Well, that's been the news, sports and weather tonight. From all of us here, I'm Tokana Hasavi. Thanks again for your company. You take care and stay safe. Bye for now.